So good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and welcome to our Sunday celebration for the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast. And I'd like to begin, as we always do, by just saying if you've never been to a Center for Spiritual Living before, we believe there's one God, many paths to that God, and we're here to love, honor, and support you, no matter what your divine path is. And the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles. Whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you're welcome here. And now to begin, Reverend Jenna Watkins will open us with a prayer, and then Carol Gabika will do a spiritual reading for us.
Okay, if we'd like to just settle into our seats and maybe close our eyes and take a nice deep breath and letting go. And I declare this moment, this time, holy, sacred, for it is a time we come together in the awareness and consciousness of that one universal life force that is pure, unconditional love that wraps its arms around each and every one of us, moving inward into our hearts and our minds and our very beingness. We are loved. We are precious. We are unique. We are that which is created from the universal life force. We are special. And each and every one of us has a place in this world to contribute that divine love in their own unique way. And that love permeates this time together, binding us through the ethers. Though we may be in different places, we are together in spirit. And this divine universal love beats through the heart of Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, inspiring the words that come forth, words that will enliven us, will spark our questions, provide answers, wrap us in wisdom. We are grateful for Reverend Dr. Ron's wisdom and love, for his very presence. And we know that this time is truly, truly holy. We embrace this holiness, we accept it, and we are pure, unconditional love, united together as one. And so it is. I let it be.
Normal. The eye of the beholder offers a murky view. Eyes glazed over with lenses colored by past, colored by uneasy definition of future. Normal? Definition once so easy, not so much anymore. Shifting axis of our world. Redefinition of the universe. Normal? Nothing in the mirror reflects what was once there. Something else reflects back at me. Unsettling, unsure, no swagger. Shyness peeking around a corner at me, hiding its face in a mask of uncertainty. Normal visits the recesses of my mind, peeking out, but not showing itself, not yet. Waiting to be defined, redefined. Shy little glimpses. Come out and play with me again. Normal.
Wow, that was beautiful, Carol. Thank you. So my title today is A New Normal. And I want to begin reading a piece titled There Can Be No Going Back to Normal by the poet Sonia Renee Taylor. I feel like the bearer of news that sounds awful, but actually is not. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. What we have been forced to leave behind, we needed to leave behind. What is getting us through is what we will need to take forward. All the rest is up to us. Dream. While I have so much time, dream of the life you want. Dream of the world you desire to exist in. Look for the places in your new dreams that have parts of the old world and remove them. What is the dream then? There we can add to the collective weaving of whatever is that is next. If we are gonna heal, let it be glorious. So in her writing, she refers to let there be a new garment. And so I'm going to take off from there. I want to read you a Bible quote that's in actually several places in the Bible. And so Jesus says, no one sews a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. If he does, the patch tears away from it, the new from the old, and a worse tear is made. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the wine will burst the skin, and the wine is lost, and so are the skins. But new wine is for fresh skins. So let me give you a little background on what that's all about. So in those days, most people were really poor, and they owned one robe, and they would patch it and patch it and patch it and repatch it until they couldn't patch it anymore. And then they would go out finally and get a new one. However, when they were patching it, if they used a new unshrunk piece of cloth, that would be heavier than the old garment. And so the old garment would tear away. And as to the wine, people kept wine in those days in goat skins. And new wine skins are soft and pliable, whereas old wine skins are hard and rigid. So people used to pour new wine into new wine skins, because the old wine skins, if you would pour it in there, they would burst from the fermentation process, and the wine would be lost. And so the point that Jesus was making was, just like you and I can't have a spiritual consciousness that works for us if it contains old beliefs and customs that no longer serve us. That's the point he was trying to make. And Ernest Holmes, who founded the Centers for Spiritual Living, tells us that we're on a path of ever-expanding experience. And only by expansion can we evolve. And he says, we don't cast away the good that the old has to offer. We accept the good from wherever we can get it. And he also goes on to say there's no limit to the possibility in all of us. How we use that possibility, and I'll talk about that a little more, is up to us. And Ethnak Iswaran, the late Ethnak Iswaran, was a contemporary of Gandhi. And he kind of makes the same point in one of his books. He grew up in India, and he writes about how when he was a young boy walking along the path, you would see discarded old skins. And his grandmother was his spiritual teacher. So when he was a young boy, he asked her, he said, "So grandma, why do snakes lose their skins?" And her response to him, which when he got older, he realized wasn't just about snakes. Her response was, if the snakes don't shed their skin, they can't grow, that they'll suffocate in the old skin. And he says in his writing, he since has moved to the US, and he said, so we as a society, we need to grow too. We need to shed old definitions of who we are and what we can become. And we can ask the question, what kind of image we have of ourselves. So Eric Butterworth, the late Unity minister, makes us a little bit makes another point. He says, we can't become something that isn't outforming of our own inner potential. You can only be you. He said, however, you can unfold more of you that may have been long frustrated. And so what I hear him saying to us is he's telling us that we can be more, that we could live up to our potential, and we can move into our consciousness and release it. And when he makes the point to me where he says, even if they've been long frustrated, what I take from that is that it's never too late. It's never too late. No matter how long our potential might have been stifled, we can release it. And I know that we teach a new thought, then when we believe we can do something, the universe supports us. That when we decide what it is we want to do, the how will be made available to us. So I read this week that somebody asked Charles Schultz, the creator of Peanuts, they asked him, what made you so successful? And he responded, he said, it's simple. I do the one thing I love to do and am best at, and that is to draw cartoons. I don't even have a checkbook. Isn't that wild? So he so concentrates on what he does, he lets somebody else takes care of his finances, and he just does what that potential within is for him to do. And Alan Cohen says that many of us have traded in our vision, that we've become afraid, and we wonder if we can still do it. And I absolutely believe that we can, that it's never too late, and we shouldn't wait because we never know how much time we have left. And I really reflected on this week, and I thought, what better time in most of our lives have we had this opportunity to review our life, review our vision to our life, to review our dream, whether it's a present one or one we let slip. We talk all the time on Tuesdays. So many of us have way more time than we know what to do with now. Why not use it in a really constructive way? Why not put it to use, and say, all right, here I am at this point in my life. What do I want to do with the rest of my life? How do I want to use the time that I have left to create a life that's going to make me feel happy? Dennis Merrick Jones says the question isn't, will I make a difference in the world? The real question is, what kind of difference will it be? And he says, if the ripples you're sending forth are loving kindness, are non-judgment, are reverence, are compassion, our joy, our generosity of spirit. He said, then you can be assured that you're a catalyst for good and that high calling. So I was reading something this week by a lady named Madeline Kay. Actually, it's called the book I was reading, a book she wrote. And she makes the point in there that all suffering and all pain are situational and temporary. And she said, it's up to you how you respond to it. So, this time where some of us are in pain and we, alone, and maybe suffering might be too strong a word, but for sure in pain and discomfort, it's going to go away. It'll be gone sometime. And the point is, how do we respond to it right here and right now? And she tells a story about herself that at one point in her life, she had a 4-year-old son. She was divorced. She was a teacher. And it was getting near the end of the teaching year, and her income was going to run out in June. She wouldn't be getting paid again until September. Had $300 a month rent for where she was staying, the house that she was in. And she had the choice, do I look for another job for the summer, or my 4-year-old is going to be with his dad for the whole summer, and I would really like to go to Europe. And she made the decision to go to Europe. She rented out some of the rooms in her house, and she stayed with her friends in Europe, and she had a wonderful summer. She said she had a friend who was very successful, had a great business, and she was telling him what she was going to do. And he looked at her and he said, I envy you. And she said, why do you envy me? She said, you have a great wife, you have a really successful business, you have a lot of money, and you envy me? And he said, yes, I envy you because you're free. And the truth is, we're all free all of the time. We have the choice of what we do, where we put our attention, and how we live. Wayne Dyer said that suffering provides us the energy to catapult us to the next level. Suffering provides us the energy to catapult us next level. And for me, that makes so much sense because, when life is going really great, we don't try to change it. If we're happy, if we're satisfied, if we're content, we don't look to make changes. We don't really look to grow. But when we're in pain, that's the time that we go within or do whatever we do to catapult ourselves to the next level, to gather our energy and make a difference. So I want to read you 3 quotes from Joseph Campbell and then read you a piece from one of his books. So he said, life is without meaning. You bring the meaning to it. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. And then he wrote, we must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. The old skin has to be shed before the new one can come. And the last quote I want to read to you, he said, opportunities to find deep powers within ourselves come when life seems to be the most challenging. And I want to read something to you that he wrote in a book that I have called The Joseph Campbell Companion. And he's writing about the hero's journey. And he said the hero's journey always begins with the call. One way or another, a guide must come to say, look, you're in sleepy land. Wake, come on a trip. there's a whole aspect of your consciousness, your being, that's not been touched. So you're at home here? Well, there's not enough of you there. So it starts. And then he goes, the call is to leave a certain social situation, move into your own loneliness, and find the jewel, the center that's impossible to find when you're socially engaged. You are thrown off center, and when you feel off center, it's time to go. This is a departure when the hero feels something that has been lost and goes to find it. You are to cross the threshold into a new life. It's a dangerous adventure. You're moving out of the sphere of knowledge of you and your community. So I just thought all of that, to me, it's so perfect for this time of life, that it's the opportunity for us to not just create a new life for us, but to create a new life for our community, for our country, for our world. I read an article this week by a lady named Amy Ippoliti, and she asked the question, is normal what you want? Was it working? She said, we can make this time sacred, a time to envision what our world could be, not merely what it was. So she has a writing exercise that I thought we could all do at some point if we're interested this week. It's called Stop, Start, Continue. And she says, go out in nature or sit in a quiet place and pick up a pen and a pad. And on the top of one of the pages, write the word stop. And then write down all the things you want to stop doing right now and in the future when it's safe to leave our homes. Think about that for a moment. What would you like to see? Then on another sheet on top of it, write the word start and write down the things you want to start doing right now and when it's safe to leave. What do you want to begin doing that you're not doing? And then on another piece, on the top, write the word continue. And then write down all the things that are working well for you that you want to continue doing. You like what you're doing now. She said, the old way of living is gone. We can grieve it and we can build a better future. And lastly, some of you might know Jennifer Rubin. She's a columnist for the Washington Post. And I read an article she wrote some time ago. And in it, she says, let's retain some of the lessons that we've learned in this pandemic. Let's retain some of the lessons that we learned. We could come out of this smarter and a more considerate society. She said, going back to normal isn't good enough after all we've been through. Isn't that the truth? Going back to normal isn't good enough after all we've been through. And so I want to close with something I read this week. I don't know who wrote it because I didn't catch the person's name, but it makes so much sense to me. This person said, your life mirrors what you put into it or withhold from it. When you're lazy, it is lazy. When you hold back, it holds back. When you hesitate, it stands there staring, hands in its pocket. But when you commit, it comes on like blazes. God bless you. Thank you for being here this morning or whenever you listen to this. Have a wonderful